Margaret Atwood, will Alias Grace repeat the TV success of The Handmaid's Tale? Alias Grace, published 21 years ago, sits as near as dammit in the middle of Margaret Atwood's novels. 8 precede and 7 succeed it, although with the ever-productive Atwood, there are probably more to come. Though she had already ventured into the world of the satirical, fabular and dystopic in novels such as Lady Oracle and Cat Si, Alias Grace was her first foray into the distant past. Set in 1840s and 1850s Ontario, it had only recently been the British-controlled colony of Upper Canada. It recreates the true and much-disputed story of Grace Marks. As Sarah Polley's adaptation finally comes to Netflix, finally, because Polley first wrote to Atwood to ask for the film rights shortly after publication, when she was a mere 17-year-old. It is set to join Hulu's version of The Handmaid's Tale in bringing Atwood's novels to a wider audience. Marks and her fellow servant James McDermott were accused of the 1843 murders of their employer, Thomas Kinnear, and his housekeeper and lover, Nancy Montgomery. It appeared that Marks was in love with Kinnear and McDermott in pursuit of Marks. McDermott was hanged, while Marks was sent to prison by way of the lunatic asylum. When we first meet her in Atwood's version, she has acquired a dual identity, both celebrated murderess, but what is there to celebrate about murder? She wonders, and model prisoner who, with an echo of The Handmaid's Tale, is brought into the prison governor's domestic sphere to wait on his wife and her circle of friends. Immediately, Atwood draws attention to how the fixed nature of women's roles throughout society relies on their interchangeability as individual human beings. I am sitting on the purple velvet settee in the governor's parlor, the governor's wife's parlor, Marks tells us. It has always been the governor's wife's parlor, although it is not always the same wife, as they change them around according to the politics. Marks, of course, is dangerous not merely because she has taken part in a brutal crime, but because her role is fluid and her identity unknowable. Is she an idiot, as her defense lawyer advised her to appear, or deranged, or calculating? Her response is to make herself a blank of the events in question. She insists she remembers nothing. Enter Simon Jordan, an alienist doctor who intends to wake the part of her mind that lies dormant, to probe down below the threshold of her consciousness, and to discover the memories that must perforce lie buried there. As he confesses to a colleague, however, it's easier said than done, particularly as Marks will not conform to stereotype. It would be helpful to me, Jordan explains, if she were indeed mad, or at least a little madder than she appears to be, but thus far she has manifested a composure that a duchess might envy. I have never known any woman to be so thoroughly self-contained. She has perhaps learned that self-containment as part of her life as a migrant from Ireland to Canada who has lost so much of her family and her ability to feel a secure foothold in the world. Jordan is Atwood's creation, rather than part of the historical record, as is Mary Whitney, servant and friend of Marks, dead as the result of an abortion, who is increasingly present and increasingly ambiguous as a figure in Marks's memories. But the novel is also inflected with another real woman, Susanna Moodie, whose accounts of life as an English settler in Canada feature her visit to the asylum in which Marks was first kept. Atwood had published The Journals of Susanna Moodie, a volume of poetry based on Moodie's work, in 1970, and now she enlisted her once again, drawing on Moodie's descriptions of Marks. There is an air of hopeless melancholy in her face which is very painful to contemplate. Grace Marks glances at you with a sidelong, stealthy look, her eye never meets yours, and after a furtive regard, it invariably bends its gaze upon the ground. In her afterword, Atwood notes that, while Moodie's first-hand accounts are generally trustworthy, her book Life in the Clearings also includes a third-hand account of the murders of Kinnear and Montgomery, one that features an entirely invented account of the quartering of the murdered woman's body and more than a hint of one of Moodie's favorite books, Oliver Twist, with its other murdered Nancy. Who Marks was remains disputed territory that might, Atwood implies, be more readily charted by those who overtly write fiction, rather than those who create it unwittingly. As Atwood seems to become an ever more prescient writer, The Handmaid's Tale, most notably, providing a rich text as women's reproductive and sexual rights are under threat, but also the environmental catastrophes forecast in the Mad Adam trilogy, it is apt that Alias Grace resurfaces for our consideration. What else are we seeing, on a daily basis, if it is not women being cast into predetermined roles: victim, seducer, hysteric, villain, without reference to their circumstances, individual psychology, or position in a patriarchal system? Alias Grace is currently showing on Netflix.